So the last example, I know I put down the bar, the grid and the circle like I was going to do it by hand, and then I thought better of it and said, I don't want to do it by hand. So we're going to flip this over to Excel. So let me flip the share to Excel. Whoop. And I still have the previous page, so I can actually save this as a file and upload it if you guys wanted to see it and play around. One of the nice things about Excel, and I hope most of you know this already, I assume you do, but if you don't, no big deal. This is the way I usually do it. I just put some parentheses and then I drag the whole list that I want to add and I hit enter and it tells me the total is 2042. So now if I'm like, oops, I just realized Hershey's and Hershey's Kisses are really the same company and I should put them together, I could do that. All right. So we actually have headings at the top. I don't know if the chart will do something interesting with headings. We'll find out. You know, sometimes I'm playing just like you guys are. Look at that. It put the second column heading up top. And we could even go in here and add if we wanted. In millions for like candy companies. There. Ooh. Now, this one, it's a little like frustrating because the first four are so small, but they are so small because, oh, I accidentally highlighted total. No wonder. Not what I wanted. Hold on. Not what I wanted. Delete the whole chart. Insert chart. And I'm leaving my mistakes so you guys can learn from them. See? There might have been a way to get the graph to delete the column, but I don't know if it would have resized my labels on the side. So this seems safer. Now, granted, the first four are still shorter than the last one. So like, you know, I can definitely see all the others total to more. And I can see M&M's is bigger than Hershey's, but I can't tell if Hershey's Kisses or Dove is bigger. They look about the same. And that's about what you should garner from this much. And it's something around 100. You know, if I can zoom in, I might be able to tell you like 110 or whatnot. And I know we know, but just looking at the graph, it's not as informative. So now we're going to do the same thing. Don't highlight the total. What we're going to do, pi. Now, honestly, I like the way 3D Pi works. Don't have to do 3D Pi, but I'm going to because it looks cool. Cool. And then there's all sorts of crazy settings. Like, see, that one you can see the wedges a little more. And if I remember right, there should be a really fancy one. Oh, I thought there was one where they would like stair step. I guess not. Now, just so you know, the ones that have the lines in the background, if you're going to copy paste this over, that means that it will be transparent, which can be really useful for some things. Like if you wanted to keep a background on a PowerPoint, this would let you do that. Or if you wanted to layer it onto another image. The more you know. No, I don't like that one. I don't like that one either. All right. Yeah. No. No. There. So it's annoying, but you can. They can be moved. Ooh, it's all fancy. I was just curious what it would let me do or not. All right, so there is pie charts and all their coolness. We could calculate the percentages. So it would be, now the fun thing is you can make it Excel do the magic. So the guy next to it divided by, oh. See, I can click that, but then down here, like if I drag it, it won't work. Because then it's trying to divide by that there. All right, we're just going to type the number in. I know there's a way to do it, but I would actually have to Google. All right. And you could change the formatting or just over here equals this times 100. This is the fraction and then the percent. And we could crunch cumulative frequency by hand, but it really doesn't make sense to do so here. The categories don't have much interaction. I don't even know if Hershey and Hershey's Kisses are two separate categories. It could be all four of these were just called out in a class and the teacher just stuck with it over the years, because why not? All right, so we saw bar graph. We saw a pie chart. Now here, because my data is not binnable, a histogram would not make sense. And likewise, I'm not looking over time, so a time series graph wouldn't make sense. I could plot these as points and connect them with lines if I wanted, but it's going to show me about the same thing. And honestly, I think the wedge does better because the nice thing is you at least get the percentages here. And I know if you dig in, there is a way to get it to display the numbers instead of the percents or in addition to. All right, so you just got way more of Excel than you probably wanted to. All right. The homework on this like doesn't go into this much detail. It's not asking you to graph. It does make you do just a regular bar graph. And what you do is you grab on the line and drag it up to the height it's supposed to be. And then drag it from 0 up to the height it's supposed to be. I think it's kind of intuitive, but you know, it does help to explain. All right. Catch y'all on the flip side.